Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Arianne and I love all things DIY and craft. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you stay updated every time I post a video. Now that we've got all that out the way, let's jump right into the weekly spread layout for the second week of June. If you watched my previous bullet journaling video, if you haven't, I'll link it down below, but it was the layout for the monthly spread and the first week of June, and in that video I used the space theme with a lot of dots to help with the illustrations. I learned a lot in that first video, a lot of things I liked and didn't like, so with this weekly spread I kind of implemented the things I liked about it. So I kept with the dot theme, and just in the corner in the top left quarter you can see I am drawing or using dots to do the illustration for a moon, and using dots and making it thicker to highlight where craters are and also light and shadow. For all the dots I used the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen in small and fine, so I alternated between the two different pens. So when I was doing the initial dots I did it in the fine and then switched over to the small, and where I wanted it to be darker or have more detail I used the fine, just so that I could use a larger brush or a broader tip. So just now I am doing the bottom part of the moon darker and then doing this like light orb at the top where it's lighter because of the sun. So I just like to do like a line with dots just so I know where I've decided I'm going to have the lighter section, and there you just use fewer dots so that it looks lighter and it gives the illusion of light and shadow without using colours or a lot of shading. I really like the effect, so I hope you guys like it. I do mix up the dots and just plain drawing in some of the other weekly spreads that I'll be sharing with you in the next couple of weeks, but this one is mainly dots and it incorporates the look from the previous one. So if you watch my previous video, you know that I like to use masking tape to tape off the section so that I can get a nice clean line. Just be careful you don't leave it on too long or put too much pressure on it, because it can rip the page, which I did experience a little bit of, but it wasn't too bad. It's generally quite good. And then I'm just writing the days. So I've got 2 columns and 2 rows on each page, and I've got the days, so Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday on the first page, then on the page next to it it will be Thursday and Friday, and then on the back of that Saturday and Sunday, with a Dutch door on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, because I just think it makes it look a little bit prettier and not look so plain. And on the Dutch door I like to do something a bit different to just a regular Dutch door. I like to do illustrations and drawings and just make it special and also make it fit with the theme a bit better. So for this weekly spread I am doing the earth using dots. I was going to do it so you have the effect of light, so just doing dots where you'd have high populations, but then I thought the rest of the world would be, well, would have no light, especially like no dots, sorry, so it would just be blank. I thought it'd be quite boring, so I just did the same as I did with the moon. So I just drew out the shape of the earth first. I used a compass to get the circle correct, and then I just did, using a pencil, a rough outline of what the continents look like from memory. I didn't use anything as a point of reference, I just used it from memory. And then you can see here I've got a line, and this is where I've got the shadow. So underneath, anything below the line is in the shadow, so it will have more dots and be darker. Anything above that line is where the sun is hitting it, so it's lighter. So I'm just doing like a gradient of dots, again using the same method as before, changing the pens out. So I'm using fine and medium for this, and just adding more dots where it's darker, and then making sure to gradient it out so it doesn't look like such a harsh line. Like you can see now, I'm just doing random spots up and down, not in any sort of formation, just to make it look a little less harsh. And then swapping the pens around whenever I feel like I need more depth, and then just doing the water because there's no light there, and I wanted it to be a stark contrast to the land. It was a bit difficult because I also wanted it to have the light and shadow that you get on the rest of it, so I did more dots on the bottom but not as many as there were on the land, and in the top half of the world I do it very sparsely so that it is a very, 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 very fine amount of dots. So this gives the illusion of it being lighter at the top and darker at the bottom. So now I'm just adding a little bit more definition and depth and making it a little bit darker without making it as dark as the land that surrounds the water. For the other side I did the same thing, but I wanted it to be as if you were turning the world as you turn the page, and I did actually use my phone as a reference for this, so I think it looks more like the world, but I'm happy with how they both turned out. For the days of the week, I've done the same as I did with the previous layout and just written the date and the day, and then done a loose box around it and then a drop shadow in the yellow because I like everything to be a cohesive theme. So that is why it looks the same, but I really like the way it's laid out. I have made slight changes and I'll tell you about it when I get there, but this is me doing the reverse side, and because it's so dark you can see through the paper slightly, I just did a rough outline of where the world, or the curve of the world, so the circle, and then using my phone as reference I just did a rough layout of what the shapes of the continent look like, and then I'm just using the same technique, using dots to make it darker, lighter, and the land darker than the sea. So it's pretty much the same thing but just a different view, and I've also keep checking to make sure that as I'm doing the dots that I am taking into account where the shadow was, because I want it to be similar. So on this, very little of the world is in the light, so you'll see a lot of it is quite dark and the shadow is a lot higher up than it was on the page before. Again, I'm using the trick with masking tape, and this just stops me from going over and having a nice clean line, so it just looks pretty when you take it off, and it doesn't go into any of the days or the part where I plan and write the tasks for the days, and it's nice and clean and it just looks like there's a clear separation without having a harsh line. So I really like that technique. Again, just be careful how long you keep the masking tape on because it can rip the page, and just be really careful when taking it off because you just don't want to rip it. I have ripped a few pages by accident in the past, so just be careful. And so here you can see where I've done the gradient for the darkness of the land underneath, where it's nighttime and then it's lighter at the top, but it's a very small amount of light compared to the page before, and then just doing all the rest of the land before doing the water. So this spread probably took me about an hour to create, just because a lot of it is thinking, and as I go I like to formulate my plan, and over time I change it. So I actually completed it and added a bit more today because I just thought it was a bit too plain or there was something missing. So it's like an evolution. It starts off as one idea, and as time goes by it evolves and just changes slightly and just becomes different or better. So at this point it was nice, but I just thought that it was just lacking something else, especially when I cut off the Dutch door around the shape of the earth, because I used a compass with the same diameter to make both the earth and the moon. When you have the Dutch door on this side, so where you can see the to-do list and the weekend days, you can't see anything in the corner, at the top corner where the illustration is of the moon. So I do change that slightly just so that it looks a little bit more interesting and not so plain when you're not on the other page, because when you're on the other page you've got the moon and the earth, so it's a little bit more exciting than this page. So I do change it up, but that's a great thing about bullet journaling. You really can change it up day to day or week to week or month to month, and you can just add whatever you want to it. It's not set in stone at all. Like if you do something one week and you don't like it, the next week you just change it up and you do something different, and you just adapt it to fit your needs, and it's exactly what you want. So that's why I love doing bullet journaling. Also, it's really good at being productive, and it really calms you down. It's like a stress reliever. You don't have to worry about anything. You just put a movie on. So while I was doing this spread, I was watching Miss Congeniality, which I haven't watched in forever, and I loved it. I then also watched other Sandra Bullock movies because I was in a Sandra love. So this is where I rip the page, and when I write on it, it kind of goes through a little bit more, but it was okay. Luckily, I didn't rip it more than that, or it didn't go straight through the page, because I think I would be quite upset, because I don't know how you would save that at that point. So this is my to-do list or running list, and this is what I've done the previous week, and I use this quite a lot. But the only problem was, I found when using it this week, that because I've got space for every day to write day tasks, so tasks I need to do in that day, I didn't know where to put some things. So I had some things on my to-do list and some things on the day task. So I think that would be quite confusing, because you're jumping between what you're doing today and what you have to do in the week. And I think when you don't look at it every day, you'll probably just forget. So I've changed it slightly. So you'll see later on the days, I've got timings so I can plan things, so I can write tasks and give it a time and schedule it in, because this is also a productivity tip. If you schedule it in, then you have something to work towards. So you set out how long you think it's going to take you to do a particular task, and you set a time frame, and then if you don't meet it, then it gives you more pressure to complete it. But just make sure that whatever time frames you put, that they are achievable, because you don't want to feel like you've wasted your time or you've not achieved anything. So that's just my top tip for productivity. So this is where I was adding in a quote around the moon. So it says, "A head full of fears." Hang on, let me read it. So it says, "A head full of fears has no space for dreams." So this week I've been having a bit of a fear controlling week, and I've allowed my fears and worries to really control me, and it's put me in a bit of a slump. So I thought this quote was quite fitting, and it just reminds me that if I'm worrying about other things, I'm not achieving my dreams. So I thought that was a great quote to put in. And for this, I used faux calligraphy. I talk about it in detail in the first bullet journaling plan with me for June. So if you watch that one, you can get some tips. So as I said earlier, one of the changes I have made to my weekly spread is adding a time code. So for every day, I've got this 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. time, so I can put time sensitive tasks or any meetings that I have, so that I don't miss them. And this is the overview for my weekly spread. I hope you guys like it. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you stay updated every time I post a video. I will see you again soon with my next bullet journal video, which will be the weekly spread for the following week. I hope you liked it. See you later, guys. Bye.